Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, welcome. So happy to have you. My name is Tamara, and today I'm talking about my top 10 highly anticipated releases for 2022. And these are all books that are coming out sort of in the first half of 2022. Definitely not a comprehensive list, but these are books that have sort of caught my interest that I'm really looking forward to picking up in the new year. So I'm going to be going through these books in the order that they're coming out. So the first one on my list is called A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, and it's coming out on January 11th, 2022, like obviously. And it is described as a lyrical thriller, which sounds phenomenal to me. I'm still not really sure if I am that into the mystery thriller genre, but I guess I'm just going to keep trying them out and see if I find some that I like. But this one is a debut from this author, and it is about Chloe Davis. And when she was 12 years old, 6 teenage girls were, I guess they went missing and were murdered in her town, and it was her father who was finally arrested as the serial killer. So as you can imagine, it took a lot to sort of move on from that. And 20 years later, she's sort of still trying to get her life together. She's a psychologist in a private practice in Baton Rouge, and she's about to get married when another local girl goes missing, and then others start to follow. And it says, is she paranoid and seeing parallels that aren't really there? Or for the second time in her life, is she about to unmask a killer? So that one sounds really good, and I'm looking forward to picking that one up pretty quickly. The next one on my list is called How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, and this is coming out on January 18th. And this is one of those books that are in the pandemic genre, this sort of new genre that seems to have come out because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So for those who are about to go into lockdown again, maybe it's too soon, or maybe this is the book that you need right now. So it's a dystopian science fiction, and it starts out in 2030 with this man who is grieving the loss of his daughter. He's an archaeologist, and he is in the Arctic Circle continuing the work of his daughter, where researchers are studying long buried secrets now revealed in the melting permafrost, including a young girl who died of an ancient virus. And so this virus obviously comes back into the world because of the melting ice, and it's called the Arctic Plague. So it says here, once unleashed, the Arctic Plague will reshape life on Earth for generations to come, quickly traversing the globe, forcing humanity to devise a myriad of moving and inventive ways to embrace possibility in the face of tragedy. From funerary skyscrapers to hotels for the dead to interstellar starships, this author takes readers on a wildly original and compassionate journey spanning continents, centuries, and even celestial bodies to tell a story about the resiliency of the human spirit, our infinite capacity to dream, and the connective threads that tie us all together in the universe. I think that sounds very compelling, and I'm really hoping that it does focus more on human ingenuity and resilience in a more positive way, because I think that's definitely what we all need right now. So I'm really looking forward to picking that one up in January. So the next book on my list is an historical fiction called Violetta by Isabel Allende, and it's coming out on January 25th. And this is the author of A Long Petal of the Sea, which is a book that I raved about in the fall. It was so beautiful. So I'm really excited for this one as well. And this one is about Violetta. She's born in 1920, and I believe she lives 100 years. And so we get to see her life told through letters to somebody that she loves. And it goes over all the upheavals that have happened in her life, but also in the world. So as you can imagine, a lot happened from 1920 to 2020, including 2 world wars and 2 pandemics. So it says here, her life will be shaped by some of the most important events of history: the fight for women's rights, the rise and fall of tyrants, and ultimately not 1, but 2 pandemics. It's told through the eyes of a woman whose unforgettable passion, determination, and sense of humor carry her through a lifetime of upheaval. This is an epic that is both fiercely inspiring and deeply emotional, and I'm really looking forward to picking this one up by an author that I already really love. The fourth book on my list is a young adult fantasy, and I put it on my list because of the amazing cover. I think it is stunning. This is called The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O, and it's coming out February 22nd. And I believe this is a retelling of a Korean folktale called The Tale of Shim Chong. And my apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. And what really captures me is that it says that this is great for fans of Uprooted by Naomi Novik and Miyazaki's Spirited Away. So that sounds incredible to me. This one is about a world that's being ravaged by storms and this main character named Mina. And this land believes in a sea god that normally protects them, but is now cursing them with these horrible storms that are causing death and despair. And in order to try to appease the sea god, this land is choosing a beautiful woman to give to the sea to become the sea god's bride in the hopes of appeasing the sea god. So there's this beautiful maiden in, I guess it's this village, I'm not entirely sure, and Mina's brother is very much in love with her. So when she's about to be given to the sea, he goes after her, but you're not supposed to interfere. And so Mina sacrifices herself in the hopes of saving her brother. And then she's spirited away to this spirit realm where she seeks out the sea god and finds out that he is in an enchanted sleep. And so I believe that there's a really interesting cast of characters that help Mina try to wake up the sea god. There's a mysterious boy, as well as different demons and spirits and gods that help her. And I think it just sounds like an incredible story. So I'm really looking forward to picking that one up, and let me know if that one also interests you. The fifth one on my list is also young adult fantasy. It's called Gallant by Victoria Schwab, and it's coming out March 1st. And I believe this is sort of a darker YA fantasy. It's about a girl named Olivia Pryor. She's grown up in a private school for girls, and all she has of her past is this journal from her mother that seems to unravel into madness. She receives a letter inviting her to attend this, I think it's a magical school called Gallant, and when she arrives, nobody's expecting her. And she's, I think, seeing some ghouls haunting the hallways. So yeah, I don't know. She knows that this place is hiding secrets. When she crosses a ruined wall at just the right moment, she finds herself in a place that is gallant, but it isn't. The manor's crumbling, the ghouls are solid, and a mysterious figure rules over all. Now Olivia sees what has unraveled generations of her family and where her father may have come from. I think that sounds incredible, and I am really excited to pick that one up when it comes out in March. Another one that I'm excited to pick up is called The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James, and this one's coming out March 15th, 2022. And this is a mystery thriller, maybe has a paranormal element as well. This is the author of The Sundown Motel, a book that I read in the fall, and I thought it was really awesome, a really good book for that October-November spooky season. So this one is about a true crime blogger who is interviewing a woman who was acquitted of the murders of 2 people in cold cases. And so she goes to this woman's mansion and starts to interview her and realizes very quickly that something strange is going on. There's something not quite right about this mansion and something not quite right about this woman. And so I guess we're meant to wonder, is this woman actually the murderer, or is there something even stranger and more sinister happening? Another one that sounds good, and maybe another one that might convince me that I like the mystery thriller genre after all. The next one that I'm excited to pick up is another one with an incredible cover in that sort of Asian fantasy genre, and it's called A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy I. Lin, and it's coming out March 22nd. And this is, I believe, sort of a Chinese fantasy, or based on Chinese fantasy. It's about a girl named Ning, and she accidentally kills her mother when she brews a poisoned tea. And this poisoned tea is also threatening the life of her sister Shu. So when Ning hears about this competition in the imperial city to find the kingdom's greatest Shinong Shi, which these are masters of the ancient and magical art of tea making, she decides to go to the city and enter this competition to hopefully win and get a favor from the princess to save her sister's life. So it says here, but between the backstabbing competitors, bloody court politics, and a mysterious and handsome boy with a shocking secret, Ning might actually be the one in the most danger. I think that one sounds really good, and I'm excited to hopefully pick that one up in the spring as well. The next one that I know is going to be a winner is called The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn, and this is historical fiction. This is the author of The Alice Network, The Huntress, and The Rose Code. And I read The Alice Network and The Rose Code and thought that they were so fun, and like left those books just feeling super empowered because they're about strong female characters during World War II. This one is also set in World War II and is about this bookworm who is a mother, and she's a very unlikely hero, but out of desperation she becomes a soldier and ends up becoming the deadliest female sniper in history. And this is based on a true story. So I just know this is going to be a good read because I've enjoyed both of the books I've read by Kate Quinn so far. So another one to look out for in the spring. The next one is by one of my absolute favorite authors. It's called All the Seas of the World by Guy Gabriel Kay, and it's coming out May 27th. And this is one of the best fantasy authors I've ever read. His writing is absolutely stunning. I sometimes read his books and then I go back to read sentences over again because they're just so beautifully written. And he's also really great because he does a lot of standalone fantasy. So if you're like me and you have commitment issues with fantasy series, he's a good author to pick up. I will say that he, except for his epic fantasy series called the Fionnevar Tapestry, which I highly recommend, he often leans more towards what I would call historical fantasy. So it's not so much about magic, but these historical fantasy settings that are like Renaissance Italy or medieval Spain, but not quite. And he always has the most incredible characters. So this one is a story of vengeance, power, and love. And it starts on a dark night along a lonely stretch of coast in a boat with two people who have been hired to assassinate somebody. And they've been hired by two of the most dangerous men alive. And if they succeed, the consequences will affect the destinies of empires and the lives of both great and small. So one of the characters is a woman who was kidnapped as a child by corsairs and sold into slavery. And so she's sort of on a path of vengeance. And then the other is a seafaring merchant. And when he was a child, his family was basically persecuted for their religion. So this is something that has marked him forever as well. So this is a story both intimate and epic, with unforgettable characters that are immersed in the fierce and deadly struggles that define their time. I know this is going to be absolutely incredible, so I really can't wait to pick that one up in May. And then the last one on my list is probably my most anticipated read because it's the last book in, I think it's the last book in Catherine Arden's middle grade horror series. So this one's called Empty Smiles by Catherine Arden, and it's coming out August 9th. And this is the fourth and I believe final book in her series that started with Small Spaces, Dead Voices, Dark Waters, which I recently read, and then this one. It follows a bunch of plucky kids and they are dealing with this horrible villain called the Smiling Man. In the last book, Ollie basically goes missing and her friends are trying to find her, and they notice a note that they think is from Ollie on this poster for a traveling carnival. And so they go to this carnival, but the sinister clowns running the show have alternate horrifying plans for them, and suddenly no one is safe. If you love horror, I really recommend this series. I know it's middle grade, but I've actually been quite freaked out by this series. So it's really fun. They're short books and they are just such a good time. So can't wait for Empty Smiles coming out in August. With that, that's the end of my list of my top 10 most highly anticipated reads for 2022. If you found something on here that you're interested in, let me know in the comments down below. And if there's something else that you think that I should look into for 2022, please let me know as well. I'm always looking for new recommendations. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.